Introduction, include names and titles of all those presenting, a very brief overview of your agency, describe your project request and the need, and the remainder of the time will be for questions from the committee.
Perfect.
You have the floor.
All right. Well, thank you guys for having me. My name is Courtney Allen. I'm the Vice President of Program Operations over here at Benavia up here in the Northwest Valley. And an overview of our agency is we really have a mission to enrich lives. That's our mission, enriching lives. So we work to strengthen the community by offering supportive, life-enriching programs to enable personal independence and dignity. We serve elderly, disabled adults, including those with dementia, Parkinson's, stroke survivors, intellectual and cognitive disabilities. We also serve children and families and caregivers of those who are caregivers of those of the elderly and disabled clients. Usually every year we serve people in the West Valley, including Surprise, Sun City West, El Mirage, Youngtown, Peoria, and Glendale. So to kind of overview Benavia as a whole, we have a lot of services that we have here, but one of our main core programs is our Life Enrichment Adult Day program. We have 4 of those programs, and each of them are licensed to serve a different population. So we have one for beginning to moderate stages of dementia and Alzheimer's and stroke survivors and Parkinson's. We have one for moderate to late stages of Alzheimer's and dementia. We have one that's adults with intellectual and cognitive disabilities. And then we have one in Peoria that's kind of a mixture population for any of those populations that need those services. We also do group supported employment for adults with intellectual and cognitive disabilities. And so we have them work in the programs before COVID, but recently we did have a contract with the city of Surprise and provided home delivered meals. And so they actually were the ones who went out and delivered the meals to the homebound seniors, which was amazing. That recently just ended because it was through a CARES grant act that we had. So we're not only doing the adult day side and giving them, the program side, but we're also helping them be employed because they aren't quite independent enough to be employed in the community. We also do free home services in the community. That's volunteer run. And so we have volunteers who run errands, do essential appointments and doctor's appointments. We also do grocery shopping, essential transportation, and then also phone pals. We normally would do friendly visitors and light handyman and light business assistant, but that's on hold with the pandemic because we're not going into the homes. We also have a childcare and preschool called Wurtzies here on our main campus. We serve infants through 5-year-olds, and we also have an intergenerational program with that. So the kiddos and the grandmas and grandpas at Lucy Ann's Adult Day that have beginning to moderate stages of dementia and Alzheimer's, they interact on a daily basis and do different activities. We are doing that again. It's virtual, or they go on walks, things that are social distancing. We also have a family resource center that serves 0 to 5-year-olds or families of those 0 to 5-year-olds. That's funded through the First Things First grant. And so we're very lucky to have that. And then we have a CARES department, which is our community assistant resource education and support. We have like an intake and referral department. So anybody can call up here and say, hey, I need a food box, or I need transportation to a doctor's appointment, or I need a bill paid. And if we don't provide the service, then we refer them out to somebody in our community that we have a good relationship with and can help get them those services. So we get about 200 to 300 calls a month in that department. We also do free life coach or free support groups in the community for caregivers. We have 2 that are in person right now, hybrid, and then the rest are still online. And then we also do life coaching, which is a fee-based service. And so that's more one-on-one for the caregivers that the support groups aren't really meeting their needs. We have about 200 active volunteers still during the pandemic, which is great. Before the pandemic, we had about 400 or 500. So we're still staying pretty busy with that. And then we have a community garden on site with the city of Surprise that we partner with. So with all that said, the way that ADOT and MAG intertwine with us is really our Life Enrichment Adult Day programs. Before the pandemic, we provided transportation to and from the homes, and we also did community outings for the individuals. Our transportation is on hold right now because of the pandemic, and so we do have that suspended, but we are going to be resuming it. We do still have all of our vehicles that ADOT has been amazing, MAG has been amazing in supporting us with, and so we have our maintenance guys go over there once a week and drive them for 20 minutes and also check on them to make sure everything's good, so we keep them in good running condition. So what we've asked for, our project request was $29,192 for preventative maintenance. And so the share of that would be, our sharing cost would be $5,839 of that. And so this is just to help keep our 5310 vehicles up up and running well. We actually used to have vehicles from Area Agency on Aging, and all of those have been returned, and we really rely on the 5310 vehicles now. So we are projecting that during the time frame of this grant that we would be able to still serve 100 unduplicated seniors and adults, which is a little bit less than in the past, but we're also still in the pandemic. So we want to make sure that we're not overshooting what that might be. We did, like I said, just had our home delivered meals program. So we did use our ADOT vehicles at that time, and that allowed our group supported employment members to come in and have a job and get a paycheck and still feel like they were giving back to the community and working like we all still have been able to do during the pandemic. There may be a possibility that we might get another contract from the city of Surprise in the near future for home delivered meals. And if that's the case, then we will use these vehicles again for that. So in 2020, we served 276 unduplicated individuals in our Life Enrichment Day program, which I think is pretty good because the year before in 2019, before the pandemic hit, we served 460. So obviously quite a bit less, but we did close our programs for 6 months during the pandemic as well. But even during the pandemic, we were able to help 276 individuals in our programs. We also applied for the CRISA, and that one was for $72,090. And this we asked to support our direct transportation services costs. So our transportation salaries and fuels from that January 20th to September 30th, 2022. So that's just to help offset like part of my salary as we help keep him maintained. We have a transportation coordinator that, like I said, it goes over there weekly and drives them and makes sure that, we're keeping them in good condition. And then the fuel, obviously, as we do drive them for the home delivered meals and when we do resume our day programming. Right now we have, I believe we have 10 ADOT-MAG 5310 vehicles. So we're very thankful and grateful for all that you guys do and help us on that end of it. So those are our asks. Did I miss anything or what questions you guys might have?
Hang on. Wendy?
Hi, good afternoon. This is Wendy Miller. I just wanted to give you a little bit of information regarding the funding. So when the applications were published, since then, the federal government has allocated some additional funds through the American Rescue Plan Act and made those funds through the 5310 program available. So there's an additional $595,000 available, similar to the CRISA application. So there's twice the amount available than we originally had put in there. So, and we intend to allocate that funding through this process, and just wanted to let you know.
That's wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you, Wendy. Are there any questions from the committee?
Hi, Courtney. This is Matt Dudley from Glendale. What would be the impact to Benavia if you weren't to get these funds?
It would be a major impact. I'm sure you guys know, you're all on the committee for this, but transportation is so expensive to run. And it still is expensive to run, even though we're not, or, transportation is suspended because we still need to get regular oil changes and keep up on the preventative maintenance. And so that's really why we focused on just preventative maintenance this time, is just to be able to keep them in good running condition, because we do have really nice vehicles from you guys and we don't want to take advantage of that. And they are the resource. I mean, we are following the benchmarks every single week for Maricopa County that they post for the schools, and that's what our benchmarks go off of. So when our service area gets into that moderate phase completely, then we're looking at starting outings and then, providing transportation. But even right now, our adult day programs are at limited capacity because of the COVID numbers. When we get back to full capacity, we have a lot of families, because way out, especially out here in Surprise, Sun City West, they have no transportation means and their loved one may not even be able to drive still. So those who are still staying on service with us, waiting for us to be able to open up more and provide transportation. Otherwise, they won't be able to get to our services. So it is very vital to the day programs and what we do.
Courtney, when you do start, do you think that's going to be more of a phased approach for your transportation?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. We have a risk management plan for every program that we have here at Benavia. And we also have one for transportation, even though we aren't providing it right now. So we've really worked and also been on the webinars and the different things that azmag has offered to help see what other agencies are doing and make sure that we're putting everything into play right. So we're anxious to get it up and going again for sure, because it's such a needed service out here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for the committee? I guess not.
Well, thank you guys so much for your time and all you do, and for all of your commitment to the committee so that you can provide this amazing resource for the community. Dee Dee and Wendy are amazing. We're so thankful for them. So thank you guys for taking the time out today.
Thank you for talking to us. Appreciate your time as well. Have a nice day.
All right, bye everyone. Thank you.
Bye, thank you. Okay, thank you, Chair and members of the committee. Again, we are running a little early. We do have Justice Center at 1:30. I'm not quite sure if they're on, but Justice Center is a new agency, new applying for 5310 funds. Just a reminder, Justice Center originally had 2 application requests. They had a CRISA and a vehicles. The CRISA did not move forward for evaluation due to ineligible projects. Their vehicle request is in the evaluation process. So they are here to talk about their vehicles.
They are not here yet.
Okay.
I can go make coffee then.
So Chair Yabis, should we break until 1:30 until they come on?
Well, that's fine.
Committee?
Do we
Works
need
for
to
me.
put-
I'm just working. I'm just staying on.
As a kids, could you alert us to when they do log on? That'd be great.
Yes.
Which ones is coming next, actually?
Just a sender.
Just, okay.
And they are a new agency.
Hello, members of the committee. We do have 2 people from the Justice Center already on the waiting room.
Chair Yabis, we're ready whenever you are.
Hang on. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Are they in? I can't see them.
I can bring them in now.
Yes, please. Is she in? Is it Billy?
Billy, you're mute.
I'm just here for moral support as a board member, so.
Billy, Rudy, I admitted him from the waiting room, but it doesn't show like Rudy joined at all. Okay, there we go. Now for the first time it showed.
Or okay.
Hello, Rudy. Oh, and here's Wendy as well.
Is he unmuted?
Hello, Wendy.
Hi, I think I'm in the wrong meeting link.
No,
Wendy.
you're not.
I guess not.
Oh,
You're in
good.
the right one.
Okay. I saw a board member and thought, oh dear, I came into her her meeting, but she came to ours. Yay.
Just here for moral support, Wendy.
Yeah.
That's great. Rudy will be signing in just a second.
Thank you. Wendy,
Rudy
Billy.
might be having some difficulty issues. He was signed in twice, and then one of them is not showing them be able to connect, and the other one just dropped out. So,
Yeah, I sent you an email knowing you probably were too busy to see it. Hezekias, I'm not at work today. I'm at home and Rudy's at the office. And I was afraid he couldn't use my link.
he should
They
be
should
able
be
to use your link.
independent.
Yeah,
Okay,
he
good.
should be able to use your link. It might be something on his end that is causing the issue. Okay, there we go. Maybe now. Okay, now I see. Rudy, can you hear us? We can see you in profile, but we can't hear you.
There he is.
It's probably
Yeah,
talking
I
to
think he's
Wendy
calling
right
in.
now. Yeah.
There you go, Rudy.
Hezekias, can Rudy call in on his phone?
Yes, he can.
Okay.
He would have to call the number and the instructions for calling are also in the invite.
Hi, Wendy, you're on mute. While Rudy is calling in, could you do a round of introductions and maybe provide an overview?
Absolutely. I'm Wendy Johnson. I'm the Executive Director of Justice Center. We are the only resource center in the Valley for homeless elderly, age 55 and up. And then we provide wraparound services once they return to housing to provide them an opportunity to not return to homelessness. We try to end homelessness, that cycle. A number of our citizens, our clients are physically and emotionally and spiritually disabled. They have challenges related to life skills, because the longer you're in homelessness, the harder it becomes to use those life skills. The other two people from my agency on the line are Billy Fidlin. She is a longtime board member and been a part of Justice Center since the beginning. And then Rudy Solis is my director of operations, and he handles just about everything that makes Justice Center and me look good.
Can Rudy say something, or he's not available yet?
Hi, Rudy. Can you hear us now? I see a phone has just joined in. I think it might be you.
Yeah, that's his. Rudy, unmute your phone so we can hear you. I should have never worked from home today. There he is.
How's that?
Much
There you
better.
go.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So Chair Yabes.
Yeah. Welcome. You've started already. My name is Robert Yabes. I'm chair of the MAG EPDT ad hoc committee. You started describing your organization already. Can you describe your project and the need for it?
Absolutely. Because we work with a lot of folks who are wheelchair or walker dependent, it is difficult to schedule them for everything from doctor's appointments to apartment viewings, or even non-emergency transport to an urgent center or an ER. The options that are available are often unwilling to pick up homeless folks, and are often not available when the need is emergent. And we feel like we could do a better job with all of our seniors if we had a wheelchair accessible van that would allow for not just our seniors to be transported, but other homeless folks who are wheelchair or mobility impaired, because the same problem exists over on the campus. We are very close to the Human Services campus and work with all the agencies there. We feel like it's the lack of wheelchair access has been a real issue for our seniors to feel like they can return to housing and have some autonomy in their life. In addition, once they get back in housing, they still don't have transportation. So the opportunity for us to use our ambassador program, which is the program that visits our seniors once a week, for them to be able to utilize the van to help with hospital, they go in for a routine test or a treatment and need a ride and a pickup. If they need to go to a specialist appointment, if they need to go to the grocery store, we can lean in on that through our volunteer program and the van. Right now, we're very limited on our ability to do that because almost all of us and our volunteers are old enough to be members at the center. And it's not like we can lift someone into the vehicle. We don't have that capacity. So having a wheelchair accessible vehicle means the world to us, to improve the equity for those that are mobility impaired.
Thank you. Are there additional questions from the committee?
Wendy and Rudy, this is Matt Deli from the city of Glendale. So do you currently have any vehicles with lifts?
None.
None? How are we going to go about in terms of like driver training for lift usage and how to use that?
We're leaning heavily on Hezekiah's and the MAG resources for that. Rudy can attest to having some background in that. He was mobility impaired for a period of time and was scooter bound and has some lived experience that will help lean into that. And also we have a grant writer, Kelly Hart, who's associated with several of the MAG vehicle recipients and has connected us for additional training.
That's good. I was going to say, with the 5310 community being what it is, and with a lot of our mobility managers out there, definitely feel free to reach out to our mobility managers. Being a new agency, it's very important that we look at coordination efforts, and feel free to reach out to them. They'll be able to kind of tell you exactly what can be done and what should be done for like good standard operating procedures for lift usage and driver training.
Excellent. We want to create a user manual so that when we bring on a new driver, they can go through what we've all experienced and have something in the vehicle to use at all times, along with Rudy's cell phone number.
And you guys kind of mentioned it earlier, but what would be the impact to Justice Center if you weren't able to get these funds?
Rudy, do you want to take that?
The impact would still be, we still have a lot of problems of getting some of our seniors mobile, because we have a lot of veterans and a lot of older seniors who are homebound. The impact is some of them haven't been able to go for a COVID shot, haven't been able to go get a yearly physical. Some of our members here in the center can't make it from the campus to just 2 blocks down the street without being dehydrated or overexhausted. So the impact is getting greater for us, and the outreach is starting to be further for us to reach as we move more members into housing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I can also address the financial impact. We've looked at renting wheelchair vans for a day, and it is both time and cost prohibitive. It's almost like calling Dial-A-Ride and the other resources. You have to know about your needs so far in advance to get there. And then the daily rental and all that, it just isn't something we have a budget for.
Anybody else from the committee have questions for them?
Chair, this is Wendy Miller. I just wanted to let you know that when the application was published, there was, since then, we have received some additional information or additional funding from the federal government through this program. So there's $595,000 extra dollars being allocated through this process for the CRISA applications, et cetera. And just wanted to make you aware of that.
Thank you, Wendy. You're always full of good news for me.
For all of us.
Yes, definitely for all of us.
Are there any other questions from the committee? Or hearing none, this concludes the interview. Would really appreciate you coming in and talking to us about your project and your request. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate the opportunity. You know, we're celebrating our 15th anniversary this year, and this would be a step towards providing a wider spectrum of resources to our seniors, and we appreciate you considering us. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chair, members of of the committee, we are back on track once again. The 4 remaining agencies are, they do all have mobility management requests. The next one is Scottsdale Training and Rehabilitation Services, which is STARS. The request is for preventive maintenance and mobility management.
Great. Let's bring them in.
All right. Chayabas.
Yes, sorry. Hello, are you the only one presenting, Mr. McGregor? You are muted, sir.
Sorry about that. Yes.
Thank you. Let me run you through what we expect from the presentation. Thank you. Thank you and for your time today. I know time is precious. My name is Robert Yabes, Chair of the MAG EPDT Ad Hoc Committee. I would like to go over a few things before we begin. To keep track of time, staff will indicate the time remaining at the 5 and 1 minute mark. This interview is being recorded. For your presentation, please provide an introduction, include names and titles of all those presenting, a very brief overview of your agency, describe your project request and the need, and the remainder of the time will be used by the committee for questions. You're on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Justin McGregor. I am the fleet manager for Scottsdale Training and Rehabilitation Services. I've been with STARS now for 6 years, and I'm also the mobility manager for the west side of the valley. We're at STARS, we're applying for the Preventive Maintenance Grant, as well as the Sub-Regional Mobility Manager Grant.
Can you, hang on, sorry.
Hi, Justin, could you describe your request for preventive maintenance?
Certainly. So we're requesting preventive maintenance grant so we can keep up the high standards that I strive my team to perform with all of our vehicles. All of our MAG vehicles are taken care of. I would stand up and say at the highest standards possible. There's daily inspections, weekly inspections, monthly inspections, and annual inspections. I make sure that all of our vehicles are ahead of schedule for all the maintenance, and I'm always reviewing our vehicles to make sure there's nothing we're missing. And we're always being proactive with our vehicles, making sure that everything on our vehicles is done before any mishaps or any possible failures could occur or happen.
Can you talk a little bit about your upcoming program as a mobility manager?
Certainly. So with Mobility Manager, I've been assisting other agencies in the West Valley as well as agencies in the East Valley. I've also been doing trainings for the driver safety training, the preventive maintenance training, and the classes have been going really well. And the plan is to continue the classes so people can get the information that they need to make their program successful, as well as sharing best practices. As well as attending all the TAP meetings and all the MAG meetings. The TAP meetings we're able to get into a broader spectrum of different members that attend those meetings, so we get to share best practices with a larger group of people.
Thank you. Wendy?
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Justin. This is Wendy Miller. I just wanted
Wendy.
to let you know that when the applications were published, since then, we've gotten some additional funding from the federal government through the American Recovery Plan Act. And so the initial 595,000 that was available through CRISA, that is now doubled with an additional 595,000 made available through ARP. And we will be allocating that through this process, just to let you know.
Okay. That's great news.
Thank you. Thank you, Wendy. Any other questions from the committee?
Hey, Justin, this is Matt Dudley from Glendale. So we're a little over a year into COVID. So do you see your role as a mobility manager changing as we go forward post-COVID, or do you pretty much see it as the same?
Hopefully post-COVID, I see us branching out, being able to assist and provide more direction for agencies out there who may be struggling, trying to recover with their programs. I know I've been fielding numerous emails and phone calls with agencies that needed some assistance with revamping their program, making their programs stronger. And my goal is to continue to do that and continue to help as many people out there as I can with their programs.
Okay, are you going out and contacting them, or are they coming and contacting you? How does that work in your role as mobility manager?
So far they've all been contacting me, but during my trainings, I give everybody my information that if they need assistance, I am available, whether it's via a Zoom or we can schedule an in-person meeting. So a lot of them are contacting me just off of my confirmation that I provide for them during my trainings and during the TAP meetings.
Okay.
With COVID, with COVID right now, a lot of people are still very skeptical of meeting one-on-one. So everything right now is being practically done Zoom and email.
Okay. And this one's more of a two-parter. So what would be the impact to STARS if you were not to get the preventive maintenance funds, but even more, what would be the impact to mobility management in the region if you were not a mobility management provider?
I think a lot of individuals out there who are still struggling to get their programs fine-tuned would have a missing opportunity to contact somebody to get that. I mean, not to say that the other mobility managers aren't able to do that. It's just good to have a different variety of mobility managers out there to help fine-tune programs and answer questions and share best practices.
Okay.
And now for the PM grant at STARS, we always plan for the uneventable. So if we didn't get the grant, we would still strive to keep our standards to the highest. I demand the best from all my team, and with all of our vehicles, I'd find a way to make it happen no matter what. So without cutting corners.
All right. Thanks, Justin.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Justin? Well, hearing none, Justin, thank you for your time, and this concludes our interview.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
You too.
Bring the next one in, please.
The next, oh, go ahead, Didi.
Sorry. Our next interviewee is Gompers. They have a CRISA mobility management and preventive maintenance request. Zacchaeus?
As of right now, I have the grant writer, Jacqueline, but I don't have anybody from Gompers. I know that Mark Bottlebach, the mobility manager, will be joining.
Oh.
I guess we can hang out. At least as a case, let us know when Mark does arrive.
All right.
We're still being recorded, right?
Yes.
That is correct.
Hello, Chair Yabis and committee members. We do have the representatives from Gumpers on the
Oh.
waiting room.
We're ready.
Yes, we are. I'm gonna let them in. Chair Yabis.
Yes. Good afternoon. Are you just the two of you presenting today?
Yes.
Thank you. Let me get through some of the requirements for the presentation. Thank you for your time here today. We really appreciate you taking time to talk to us. My name is Robert Yabes. I'm chair of the MAG EPDT ad hoc committee. I'd like to go over a few things before we begin. To keep track of time, staff will indicate the time remaining at the 5 and 1 minute mark. For your information, the interview is being recorded. For your presentation, please provide an introduction, include names and titles of all those presenting, a very brief overview of your agency, describe your project request and the need. The remainder of the time will be for questions from the committee. Please start.
Hi there. How is everyone? I'm Jackie Ehrenberg. I am the grant writer for Gompers, and I've been with the organization for 4 years now, helping them with all of their grant writing needs. And this is
Mark Waterbush. I'm the Vice President of Operations, overseeing all the program aspects of the agency, which includes adult day programming, a private school, employment services, and in-home services.
our transportation component of our programming. Not only brings the members to our facilities in Peoria and Central Phoenix, as well as the center-based employment in Glendale, but also takes them to group supported employment as well as individual employment throughout the Metro Phoenix area. About 20%, if not over 20% of our population actually requires wheelchair assistance. And so there is very little opportunity for them to make multiple transfers on buses and getting through to public transportation. So they require our assistance to get to and from Gompers for the programming that they receive. The requests are for mobility management position, which helps train new drivers and keep up to date with the skills and some new training with regards to safety protocols with COVID and such. Our preventative maintenance, we have requested a total of $38,000, $7,500 of that being matched by our own organization. And that is primarily general repairs and such, but also the inspection of the vehicle to make sure it is maintained in the proper upkeep. And then the Carissa request, which yes, I know was quite large, but there was a lot of time when we weren't incurring the revenue for a large portion of our population. We even closed down for a short period of time this summer as well, I guess last summer. And that request continues to go throughout the future. We're currently at what percentage of the population being served right now, Mark?
We're supporting probably about 33% of what we were supporting initially prior to COVID.
Right. And that's our requests right now.
Wendy?
Thank you, Chair. Jackie, I think you heard this before, but
Mhm.
just for Mark's benefit as well, we received additional funding through the American Recovery Plan Act. An additional $595,000 is being made available for this process.
Excellent.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Other questions from the committee members?
Yeah, Mark and Jackie, this is Matt Dudley from Glendale. So Gomper's role in mobility management, how do you guys see it going forward coming out of COVID? Do you see anything different in terms of your training for new drivers and how that's going to work?
Well, yeah, eventually, when we can go back to doing the PASS training, the plan is to continue providing that PASS training. We also have done once a training, it's called The Wheels Are Turning. And the focus was really about how to safely transport people in the COVID environment. We're now changing that to just address like germs and, you know, flu and kind of a global transporting people and them, you know, not getting sick and things like that, much more general. And we're also developing out of prevention and support, which is a DDD training, kind of a de-escalation training for drivers, so they can identify signs of people getting escalated, maybe getting agitated, signs of medical distress and things like that. It won't be a training to certify, but it will be a training to kind of educate on signs of escalation when people might be having trouble and things like that.
Okay, and then my last question is, what would be the impact to Gompers if you were to not receive funds for, you know, let's pick all three. So if you weren't able to get, what would be the impact to mobility management if Gompers wasn't around? What would be the impact if maybe the PM funds weren't available, and the impact with the CRISA funds?
Go ahead, Mark.
You hear me?
It's on you. You can do it.
Well, right now, one of the big issues right now in the COVID environment is we're only transporting 4 members at a time to maintain safety. So we're transporting, but we're not able to transport the number we could. So it's transportation always is kind of maybe a break-even proposition, but now it's not at all. We're losing money transporting, but it's to get, you know, members into the program. So getting those funds would be a huge benefit in just trying to get things at a break even right now, because most of the bills haven't changed, but the amount of members coming in and the revenue has decreased significantly.
Okay, how are you guys more on kind of a, as we're getting out of COVID, hopefully more of a phased approach to your transportation, people coming back into Gompers? How's that working?
Well, I think probably 70% of the members coming, we transport. And at this point, we're going to continue to maintain the social distance on the van. We are looking at a staggered approach so that we can kind of run 2 routes with 1 van to get more people coming in. But again, it's still the gas. It's all the trips back and forth. But for the foreseeable future, we're going to continue to keep those distance requirements in place.
Okay, thank you.
The request for CRISA is over $2 million. How many employees do you have working on transportation? I think it was 2.7 or something like that. Did I miss it?
No, that is correct.
Yes, that was the expenses incurred.
Absolutely. There was definitely revenue, at least for the first 6 months of COVID, that we weren't able to necessarily get revenue in from serving some of the members. And so I just wanted to, you know, express all of the need. It is all in transportation. We did not, our description of our request did not include any of the folks who work directly in the programming in the classroom. It's the drivers that we included in our ask.
So what would be the impact if you don't get the 2.7 million? I think, on the program?
Well, I mean, the 2.7 million were expenses incurred that we didn't have any revenue coming in to match. So it would be a matter of trying to figure out where that money's going to come from. We've been fortunate in holding things together, but it's getting very, very tight. So we're not sure what that would look like.
Yeah, the organization may have to pull from some reserves, but that will, make them vulnerable if there are any future problems with service and revenue, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
I mean, certainly one thing to look at would be, do we continue transporting? Because vans are an expense. There's insurance, there's maintenance, there's all kinds of expenses there. Certainly don't want to do that because a lot of people rely on it, but we would have to look at those and make those hard decisions. Where can we remove expenses and continue to operate the program side of it?
I hope that answered your question.
Yes. Anybody else from the committee who has questions? I guess not. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. This concludes your presentation and interview. We appreciate you showing up. I know everybody's busy right now, but please, we want to thank you for responding to our questions. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, members of the committee, we are back on time. We do have scheduled a 10-minute break. We will reconvene at 2:25.
Anybody okay? Everybody okay with that?
Yeah, we're good.
You can respond to your emails now.
Okay. So we will break for a couple 12 minutes. If you can log on a little bit early before 2:25. The next the two last interviews are for mobility management and CRISA and PM. They are Chandler and the Center for Rehabilitation. So
is that the last one?
We have two. We have the Chandler Gilbert Arc with CRISA and mobility management and preventive maintenance requests. And the last one is the Center for Rehabilitation with the preventive maintenance and mobility management. So our next interview will be at 2:25.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you at 2:25. That's correct. I'm not doing right. Please, done first.
Hi, Chair Yabis and members of the committee. We do have um, someone from Chandler Gilbert Arc already in the line, in the waiting room waiting.
Everybody ready? Let's get it on. Anybody missing from ours?
Um,
Should we do a roll call, Dee Dee?
I can do a quick one roll call if you would like.
Yeah, please
Okay.
do that to make sure.
Carolyn Ballard.
Here.
David Calloway. David Calloway. I can come back. Vice Chair Dudley.
Here.
Joan Freeman.
Here.
Wendy Miller.
Here.
Kristen Taylor.
Here.
Nathan Ryan.
Here.
So another call out to David Calloway. David Calloway. We do have quorum. But David Calloway.
Give him a minute and see what happens. We should get ready for the next one though. So
All right, so I'm gonna let William Parker from Chandler Gilbert Arc. Hello, Billy.
You hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay.
all right, let me start. Maybe he can join us. Welcome and thank you for your time here today. My name is Robert Yabes, Chair of the MAG EPDT Ad Hoc Committee. I'd like to go over a few things before we begin. To keep track of time, staff will indicate the time remaining at the 5 and 1 minute mark. This interview is being recorded. For your presentation, we would like you to provide an introduction, include names and titles of all those presenting, a very brief overview of your agency, describe your project request and the need, and the remainder of the time will be questions from the committee. Are we waiting for anybody else from your group, sir?
No.
All right then.
Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Great. Thank you. We'll get started. Hi, everybody. My name is Billy Parker. I'm Executive Director for Chandler Gilbert Arc. With me is Michael Miller, who is Director of Operations for Chandler Gilbert Arc. And so I know it said, I looked at an old presentation outline from a previous year, and it said, if you have, only if you're new at agency, you really need to describe your agency too much. And we're anything but that. We've been involved in this program for a long time. But that said, we provide services and supports to individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We have an employment program, a community living program, and also an adult day program. And the services that we provide are, we typically work only with adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities and provide an array of services. And we operate 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, which includes lots of transportation. So we'll talk a little bit about the project requests that we had. I've done mobility management, or agencies done mobility management for about, I think this is our 7th year working on it, and found it to be a really, really practical and effective relationship building tool to work with other 5310 providers. And really in terms of the mobility management that we do. Some of really the key projects that we work on in mobility management, and we do it as a team. I'm typically the sort of the figurehead for mobility management, but we really have a team of people that provide mobility management services. And vehicle sharing is one of the main projects that I work on and I do training on. That includes developing relationships with other providers that need vehicles, trying to connect people that need vehicles with people that have vehicles that they can share. And then really a lot of it involves the research that goes into sort of navigating the process, and mostly insurance liability. That's really one of the major points and one of the major sticking points in vehicle sharing. We have a very supportive insurance broker that's worked with us, and we've sort of developed and redeveloped that system many times. And so that's one of my key things to continue working on and continue to study in the year moving forward. In addition, we've really had a lot of conversation and done a lot of study on sort of looking at vehicle brokerage systems, in that processes for vehicle sharing, to where at some point maybe two providers could own one vehicle, or people could share rides and transportation and different things like that. So we've spent a lot of time really sort of kind of working on that process, and we're still really hopeful that we can find some good systems to do that, and a good process for that, and some partners that want to share in that process. And that was actually originally Wendy Miller's idea to do that. And I've done some research and contacted Transportation Association, Community Transportation Association of America, and spoken with them, got some best practice information, and we plan to continue to study that. So with really vehicle sharing and brokerage, I've also been doing training since the pandemic called It's a Moving Target. And really what that training is about is really assisting people and sharing ideas for how businesses can continue to maintain their processes, whether it be transportation or whether it just be the services that they're providing. That's kind of turned into a sort of a title that the title itself is sort of a moving target, and whatever the current issues are with the pandemic or anything, they become the topics of discussion. So I think we'll really continue to do that even after the pandemic is over, because there's always going to be challenges that providers have, and a good forum for them to talk about that. So that's really a large part of what our projects are with mobility management moving forward. Preventative maintenance, we applied for preventative maintenance dollars for our vehicles, for maintenance repair on our vehicles, as well as also fleet management software. And I'll talk a little bit about that. We have fleet hardware in our vehicles right now that enables us to do some sort of basic monitoring of our vehicles by having these devices in our vehicles. But we really feel like these pieces of equipment that we have on our vehicle are really limited. And we found through the provider that there's an annual subscription for sort of a pro version of this, which enables us to do a whole lot more in-depth monitoring of the vehicles in real time, and will also enable us to do transportation monitoring, planning trips and different things like that. That really goes along also with our strategic plan of centralizing our transportation. So one thing that we've done during the pandemic is we've sort of taken the time to really look at our transportation program. And when we come out of the pandemic, which we're planning to do in the middle of May, and reopen our programs, then we're really planning on centralizing that transportation. And it will be really important for us to have this fleet management software. The last request that we had was for CRISA funding, and that was really to cover fuel costs, actual fuel costs during the time of the pandemic, and also PPE, which is the request that we made for the PPE was a very small portion of what we actually used, but we figured any sort of anything could help on that. And we're really grateful for the option to even make that request for that, and really hopeful that that kind of assistance will help us out some. So I'm feeling like that's probably all of my time for the presentation. So Michael, if you have anything to add. Okay, so we're open for questions if anybody has any.
Thank you. Wendy, please.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Billy. Hi, Michael. This is Wendy Miller. I just wanted to let you know that at the time that we published the application, there was just CRISA funding available. Since then, the ARP Act came out, and we've received an additional $595,000 in funding for the CRISA eligible projects, and we will be allocating those funds through this process along with the CRISA funds. So there is extra funding more than we thought available. So wanted to let you know.
Excellent, thank you.
Questions from the committee?
Hey, Billy, this is Matt Dudley over in Glendale.
Hey, Matt, how are you?
Good. So what do you think would be the impact, especially on the mobility management side? Like if your agency wasn't able to be the mobility manager anymore, what do you think would be the impact to the region, and given that the mobility management services that you're providing today?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people currently, in the time that I've done mobility management, and that we've sort of really organized mobility management as a, as a sub-regional sort of process, it has brought way more providers sort of to the table to talk about mobility issues, vehicle sharing issues, and actually thinking outside the box a little bit. And it really feels like that's been a positive outcome. And so more people come to TAP meetings, more people have more creative ideas, more best practices are brought to the table. And I think a lot of that is because of not just the TAP process, but because of the mobility management process, because the outreach that happens and the regular meetings that we have and the presenters that we have that come to our mobility managers meetings, I think all of those have an impact on sort of getting people out of their individual spaces where I run my agency, you run your agency, and they run their agency, and to where we're working a little bit more collaboratively. I really feel like if mobility management wasn't happening, people would continue to do business, but they wouldn't communicate with each other to nearly the degree that they do. And I think that could have some really negative impacts. So.
Okay. Do you think as we're getting out of COVID, that the mobility management space is going to change post-COVID? Or do you think it's going to go back to like business as usual?
I really hope, well, one, I hope that it goes back to business as usual, because we have not been business as usual for about 14 months now. So that would be really nice. And I think, to go along with that, I think that, particularly with this brokerage project, I mean, that's one of the things that I've really had a great investment in. And I sort of really appreciate Wendy for sort of bringing that to the table to begin with. And we'll be really pretty actively looking for partners, maybe a partner somewhere in East Valley that actually wants to share, wants to at least consider sharing the ownership of a vehicle and really working together to do transportation. So, I think that there will be some positive changes of that when we come out of COVID. And I think as time has gone on too, it's been a bigger item on our applications. And I think that that's good. I think people want to know what you're doing to coordinate, and people should, and you all should continue to ask us what we're doing to coordinate, because it's an important part of the process. So I'm very hopeful that it will sort of amp up some of the coordination efforts that are currently in place, and that will be in place when COVID ends.
All right, thanks, Billy.
Sure thing.
Are there any other questions from the committee? I guess not. Well, Billy, thank you for your time. I guess this concludes your interview and the presentation. We really appreciate you talking about the next trends on mobility in the Valley. And thank you for coming today. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. We appreciate what you all do, definitely.
Thank you, Billy.
All right, take care. Thanks again.
Chair, members of the committee, this is our last interview of the day is the Center for Rehabilitation. They do have a preventive maintenance request, and they do have a mobility management request. This will be a first mobility management request from TCH. Zacchaeus?
They are in the waiting room and I'm letting them in right now.
Do it.
Hello, Dawn.
Hello, and I have, I don't know if you can see, I have Danny in the room with me too.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Don. Danny?
Hi.
I have to go over a few things here that we will require you to talk about.
Okay.
Welcome and thank you for your time today. My name is Robert Yabes, Chair of the MAG EPDT Ad Hoc Committee. I would like to go over a few things before we begin. To keep track of time, staff will indicate the time remaining at the 5 and 1 minute mark. The interview is being recorded. For your presentation, please provide an introduction, include names and titles of all those presenting, a very brief overview of your agency, describe your project request and the need. The remainder of the time will be for questions from the committee. Go ahead. Thank you.
Right. So I am Dawn Hawking. I'm the Director of Development here at TCH. And I have Danny or Jesus Diaz in the room as well that will help with the presentation. And he is our Fleet and Maintenance Manager. TCH is a nonprofit based out of Tempe that provides support to adults with disabilities. We've been around since 1967. We have a day program, group homes, employment services, Ability One contracts, and home-based services to provide all of the supports needed for the adults that we support. Is that brief enough, or do you want more?
We'll ask if we need some more.
Okay. And then you asked for an overview of the project or the request. We have two. So do you want us to do both of those?
Yes, please.
Okay. So our first one is capital preventative maintenance. And this is for things like oil changes, brakes, tire replacement, lift ramp maintenance, as well as general repairs. And our request, sorry, my computer's not moving very fast. Our total request is $20,500 for that this year. And then this year we've also applied for mobility management. This is something that we've been discussing for the last couple of years. And this year we decided to go forward and apply to be a mobility manager in this area, to be able to provide a variety of support to the other mobility managers, as well as bring any knowledge and experience that we have to help within our community, as well as extended community.
Wendy, please.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Don. Hi, Danny. I just wanted to give you a quick update that when we published the application, CRISA was the only additional funding available. And since then, the ARPA Act or the ARP Act came out, and they gave us an additional $595,000 for this program. So we will be allocating that funding through this process as well. And just wanted to give you a heads up.
Okay, great. That's wonderful here.
Thank you. Questions from the other members of the committee?
Hey, Don and Danny, this is Matt Dudley, City of Glendale. Can you give me maybe a 1-minute pitch on why TCH would be a great mobility manager in the region?
Sure.
I've worked with TCH for about 10 years, and we've learned preventive maintenance probably the hard way at first, but we've learned a lot of new programs through Fix, through other PM programs that we've picked up throughout the years, and just getting to know our vendors also. Instead of reacting type maintenance, we are literally maintaining daily our vehicles, which has helped and saved a lot of money.
And so that kind of leads to being a mobility manager. We have those kinds of experiences. We also have GPS system, which helps us in terms of cost saving as well as managing our fleet. So we have a variety of other programs that we do within house that we can share best practices. We already do coordinate with other mobility managers when it comes to things like best practices and sharing whatever information we can. And most recently, I'm really excited. I was just appointed to the City of Tempe Transportation Commission. That out.
So are you guys?
No comments from the Tempe Peanut Gallery.
She doesn't know what's up for her yet.
So is TCH planning then to, are you guys expecting to maybe have the different nonprofits come to you, or are you guys going to actively go out and to the various nonprofits and let them know what you're going to be doing as mobility managers?
I think it'll be a combination of both, and of course, whatever Wendy and Dee Dee need, it'll be a combination. But I think we'll be performing trainings or whatever. We could bring them here too.
Right, and when we discussed even the application process with Wendy and Dee Dee, those were some of the questions that we were asking: is what do you need, as well as what do the other mobility managers need within the area, so that we can all support each other and meet the needs of everybody within our communities. So we're very flexible.
Okay, all right. Thank you guys very much.
Mm-hmm.
What would happen if you don't get the money that you're requesting? Is there any downside in your program?
For what part, the PM or?
Both.
Both?
For both.
The mobility manager part, I don't think there would be much of a difference, but the preventive maintenance with everything going on regarding like stolen cats, which has been a plus that we're using those funds for. If not, of course we'll end up paying for it, out of pocket, but.
It definitely, the preventative maintenance dollars definitely helps offset, the lack of funding that we receive for the programs in general, including transportation. With mobility management, it's not going to change how we're currently participating with TAP meetings and some of the best practices that we currently share with our other sister agencies or providers of the 5310. So we'll continue to be active and involved.
Connie. Chair, members of the committee. Danny, could you explain the term CAP for those who are unaware of that terminology?
Oh man.
Just in general, when we were pretty excited to hear about the fact that the PM money, we could utilize it for the catalytic converters. That we've done a lot of preventive tactics, like putting cages around our cats, more lighting, more cameras. but I think it'll still be an issue throughout the valley, even with these deterrents. And it's nice to know that that MAG will help us, pay for this if it does come about.
So yeah, as Danny was saying, we were one of the nonprofits that had gotten hit with that whole Cadillac converter thefts a while back.
Twice.
So we were able to utilize the current preventative maintenance dollars to help cover the cost of the cages to help prevent that from continuing to occur.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee members? Hearing none, this concludes the presentation and the interview. Thank you for talking to us. We really appreciate your time spending it this afternoon with us.
No problem. Thank you guys so much for the consideration of our requests. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Chair Dee, this is Wendy. For the committee members that may not be aware, we've had a number of catalytic converter thefts for many of our subrecipients. I've had no less than probably 8 or 9 different agencies contacting us to let us know that this is kind of an epidemic in our region. They're stealing it for the platinum inside of them, and so we are part of the preventive maintenance funds do go to pay for that. So it's been a problem.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Thank you, Wendy. Chair and members of the committee. Unfortunately, this seems to be a more urban issue other than a rural issue. And I think it's just opportunity. It's just the opportunity that we have more agencies and, a higher density in the population. But this has been an issue not only for nonprofit agencies, but also for other service providers. I mean, not only for 5010 subrecipients, but other nonprofit providers. So thank you.
Wow.
I wonder if that's something in terms of like our make ready costs, and especially for our urban providers. Because yeah, we've run into absolutely a lot of those catalytic converter thefts on Valley Metro band pools out here in the West Valley. If that's something in the future, looking at maybe some make ready costs to get like these catalytic converter cages built. I mean, they won't stop the theft. It just slows them down a little bit. But yeah, there's been a rash of those things that have been out lately.
Great idea, Matt. I'll have those priced out with the vehicles, and we'll add that to our vehicle costs next year. And hopefully that will help deter it from the beginning and help us at least next year meet our 55% shortfall from this year.
Good idea.
Definitely, Chair and members of the committee. This is also an issue that we've taken to our sub-regional mobility managers for discussion. We've talked about best practices, and they've shared some of the that information at the various workshops that they present, looking at best practices and talking about vendors, what type of kind of catalytic converter cages they would recommend or suggest. So there's quite a bit of topic on that. Also, some of our providers are asking for additional police presence, at least, making the ask to the local police department to do more of a drive-by, kind of security check. But definitely we would continue with this dialogue. We did ask the mobility managers if they see this trend slowing down after the pandemic. And they said this has occurred in waves in the past. So this is just something kind of ongoing. Thank you.
What's next on the agenda?
Well, we are at the conclusion of our interviews for today. So we, Chair, you can call for a break for the day.
Anybody opposed to that?
Or if there's any additional comments that the committee would like to say regarding regarding the interviews that you've seen.
No, let's see. Hezekiah's, you need the interview scores by 4:30 today?
Yes, please.
Okay.
4:30. So I have time.
You have time. Chair and members of the committee, just a reminder before the chair calls for a break for the day, that we are still in the process of the interview. We are still in the interview process. Please no outside discussion, and we are not adjourned for the day, but we will be taking a break. Chair?
We are taking a break. We're coming back. Kidding, right?
Tomorrow,
No?
Robert.
You're
Tomorrow,
coming back
we'll check
tomorrow.
Right. Oh my gosh, Robert. It's been a long week already. On the additional funding that we are getting, the what do you call them? AR or something.
The American Rescue Plan.
Yeah. How do we disperse that? Do we just add it as part of the CRISA?
That's correct. We are rolling it into the CRISA to increase the amount, as Wendy had noted. It's the same process that ADOT is also doing and other regions are doing. The ARP just came out, I would say, about a month ago, very just recently. It has the same eligibility as CRISA.
All right. Well, anybody opposed to going on break now? I guess not.
No, I think that's a good idea, Robert. Be back.
Motion to break until tomorrow morning.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Wendy. Appreciate that. Do we
I
need to vote
second
on that, actually? No.
Chair Yabis, we don't make a motion. We're just going on break.
Okay.
So we are still in process. So please no outside discussion regarding the application process.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right. See you everybody tomorrow at 9 a.m.
9.
Thanks.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
Bye.